everybody, it's Cutthroat Kier here, and I'm bringing to you an Army Showcase live from Adepticon. Today I'm joined by
Daniel Moore, or Danith00 on the forums.
And he plays
Protectorate of Menoth.
All right, so why did you choose Menoth? And I'm just going to do a quick overlay here.
So Protectorate wasn't always my first faction I joined. I actually started playing Warmachine with Signar. I got into Protectorate because it's always nice having a religious feel to it. You got the zealotry, you got the fire, you got all these things that really bring the faction together as a whole. It's a very unique faction, the fact that everything kind of works together in almost like a wheel that just kind of flows perfectly together.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about your army, because as we can see here, it's very beautifully painted. So what do we got here?
So we're starting here on the left side is going to be the Zealots, the Holy Zealots with their attachment, the Monolith Bearer. So the Zealots, when I started painting these guys, it took me a couple times. I've actually painted them twice now to kind of keep a color scheme I really wanted. So the big thing was kind of blending some specific colors. The yellow I actually made myself, which took a couple different tries of mixing some colors. But I mainly went with a maroon main cloak with a little bit of a off touch of the yellow, and obviously used a actually Menoth white for the actual Monolith Bearer itself.
All right, and let's talk about this Jack right here.
So that is Eye of Truth. Everyone on that is playing Protector knows how awesome this Jack is. He was actually a really fun thing to paint. He has a lot of detail just built into it himself. One thing that just myself as an amateur painter, it's really hard to make fire. I'm not sure if any of you guys really had a problem with that, but for myself it really was. So with the sword itself, that probably took me the most time to do. Still a work in progress with that. It's trying to make it into almost like it's heating up, which at the time is actually quite difficult. Itself, I kind of tried to do a little bit of glow to it with the shield with a lot of my monofixes to kind of show that it's radiating, I guess, the holy energy of Menoth.
Nice. All right, and wait, what do we have here?
So that is going to be a Templar. So most of my themes with my Protector Jacks is going to be like a bronze metal with regular like a steel color mixed in with it. The Templar is actually a great piece to paint. It's very basic, very straightforward. I feel like it was a really nice thing to paint because it was very easy.
I'm really enjoying your basing here. One of my favorite parts of the miniature hobby in general is basing, and you have a really nice base. What was your theme? Like, what was the theme you were going for when you were doing this? Basing?
So Protectorate obviously lives in the desert, and I feel like that's very bland, and I didn't really want to do that. So I went with more of a grassland feel with a lot of rocks, things like that. That this army's marching out against the Great Crusades against the other factions. So that's kind of what I felt for.
Nice. All right, so let's talk about. So who is this lady right here?
That is Anastasia Debray. So. With Anastasia Debray, with her, she is essentially a Lealese infiltrator. So I wanted to make sure she kept a really dark look to really feel that she is infiltrating in and kind of making sure that she doesn't get spotted. That's kind of her job as the fluff model, and I want to kind of keep that feel to it.
Awesome. And what do we got here?
So that's the Vassal of Menoth. A lot of you guys know those are our arcane mages put in chains. For him, I actually put him onto a red Menoth color base to make him look like he really belongs in the Protectorate now. So the main thing with that was I actually have a couple different models. I didn't bring them all with me, but I have one for almost every faction to match their colors.
Nice. We got a little bit of Orin Midwinter here.
Yep, Orin Midwinter, the old man. So Orin Midwinter was an awesome thing to paint. He was very easy to paint because he doesn't have a whole lot of specific colored details to him. But you wanted to really pop out the fact that he's an older grunge man. He's been around for a long time, so I really popped the white out to make it show his age. And like I said, he's one of the better models in the game too.
What are your thoughts on the Inquisition?
The Inquisition, I hope, is gone, to be honest, but we'll see. I mean, I feel like the Protectorate's almost like an Inquisition itself.
Exactly. And you got the book.
Yep.
And let's see if you put any writing in it. Ladies and gentlemen, the writing is in the pages. Tell us about this piece.
So the Covenant of Menoth was actually probably one of my last models I've ever painted, mainly because I just didn't really know how to do it. Trying to make the book look old because it's a very Menoth's religion. It's a very old book, so trying to make it have that old feel to it. I actually used a lot of flesh colors to make it bring out kind of like an older feel to it.
So for the parchment and stuff?
Yeah, parchment and backing, yeah.
Nice. All right, and who are these two big bad boys?
So there's the Sanctifier. So the Sanctifier is awesome. So it's one of my favorite jacks. I feel like it's very unique in the sense that it does gather souls. So I wanted to keep it different from the rest of my color scheme. So I did keep it the bronze, which is what I use for most of my medals in Protectorate, but I really wanted to change it from my normal purple theme to actually black to really kind of show that these guys are different and they do a specific job in the faction.
Yeah, I think it's definitely interesting that you use the same type of bronze to tie the whole army together, but went with a whole different color scheme, and it still kind of works all together. All right, so what are these three right here?
So those are going to be the Vassal Mechanics. I actually made them a little different color because I wanted to make sure I can keep them apart on the battlefield. So as you can kind of tell, they kind of mismatch. I have one that is actually going to be a mostly metal base for his equipment, and he's got a little bit of bronze in there, but then the other one's going to be a lot more bronze, but a little bit of metal in there to kind of mix max. And the other one is actually strictly just matches the faction itself, and that's kind of what I did there.
That's probably really easy for your opponent to also look at and see the difference in the forces, so that's a really smart idea. And we got Nicaea.
Yep, Nicaea there, yes ma'am. So Nicaea is actually a really cool piece. I wanted to keep her kind of a fluff as well because she's a daughter of the flame. She is practically an assassin. If you guys know any much about the fluff, she's gone in, she's killed many lords and ladies, I'm sure. So I wanted to keep a really dark theme to her too. So I took mainly black as well as a dark purple, which keeps in my theme, but trying to put that in there, and again with the bronze weaponry as well.
Awesome. And then we got some ninjas here.
Yep,
the monks.
The punch monks, yes. So punch monks. So I've been with these guys. I actually lost their arms a long time ago. So I actually made them in a really cool pieces. I feel like now they're really designed to what they do. They just run on the battlefield without their arms. I've had these models the oldest. I've had them for quite a few years. And I just, after I painted them, I never really wanted to get a hold of new arms. So I just kept them that way. It's kind of a showing that these guys can still do their jobs without their arms.
So you would say that Menoth cuts the arms off these guys so they kick better.
That's probably true. Look at their pose. They look awesome.
True story. All right, now let's go to the models that I would assume you've worked the most on.
I did. So that is going to be the Junior Warcaster Tristan Durant. I'm actually the most proud of that model there. I actually painted him right before Adepticon. It took me probably close to 3 to 4, 5, maybe 5 hours going through repainting, basing, recoating, as well as washing him. I feel like I did a great job with him. I even made his face kind of pop, and I feel like that is, as an amateur painter, the hardest thing to do is the faces. Because a lot of times you put a little bit too much paint on and it washes out the details that are already there. So I had to really go in with a very fine-tuned brush to make sure I can kind of make sure his face and everything like that stays to where it's supposed to be.
All right, and next on the list
is the leader of the faction, Hierarch. So the Hierarch Severius, that model there, I wanted him to really be different. He's the leader of the faction, and I want to make sure that he stays that way. So I went with a Menoth white, as well as to kind of offset the white with my regular purple there as well. I feel like he turned out extremely well. The white kind of came a little dirty because he's leading the Great Crusades right now against Khador, so I wanted him to not look like he's pristine because he's not going to be anymore. So that's kind of what I went with him.
Nice. Yeah, I like him. And then on the top of this hill right here, we have Miss Fiora.
Yep, so this is Fiora, the Conquering Flame. So I feel like as a faction, she is probably our best looking model right out the box. She's got a lot of detail, a lot of parts, and she's got like a Warcaster horse. It has like stacks and everything.
Turbo horse, it's a Mustang.
Turbo horse, got on fire and everything. So again, as I kind of said earlier when we were kind of going through my faction, fire is the hardest thing to paint for me. So it took a lot of work just in trying to get a fire look to it, and I feel like I kind of accomplished that. As far as detailing goes, you know, like I said, I kept to the bronze with a little bit of offset of the metal to kind of really make those pop. But overall, I feel like I did a really good job with her. But I really want to point out that as a model, as an amateur painter, it's not always about making sure your models look pristine, because as a painter, you're going to get better over time, and that's how I'm starting to feel. So you just got to take it slow. She took me an awful long time to paint because I really wanted to make her look good on the tabletop, and hopefully I accomplished that.
Yeah. Well, everybody, here is the entire force together. And Daniel, I want to thank you for taking the time to show us your army.